The message that shook the galaxy did not come with warning. One moment the Galactic Forum was busy with its usual noise, different species exchanging reports, trade agreements, and quiet gossip about distant planets. The next moment, the doors at the far end burst open, and the envoys of the Zeroth Dominion marched inside with the cold confidence of a species that believed the day belonged to them. There, tall frames and dark armor made the atmosphere inside the hall drop by several degrees. Everyone felt it. Even species known for calmness shifted uneasily. For thousands of years, the Dominion had been silent, honoring the ancient armistice that ended the last great war. No one expected them to return with anger in their voices and fire in their eyes. Yet here they were, standing in the center of the hall, announcing that the armistice was finished. The Dominion's led envoy raised a metallic staff and tapped it against the floor. The sound echoed like a warning bell. A hush fell over the forum. Then the envoy delivered the message that would spread across every star system within hours. The armistice has ended. Prepare for conflict. Humanity will be the first target. The silence that followed felt heavy. 1,000 species stared at one another, stunned. They knew the Dominion never joked. When they announced war, it meant war. Old fears returned instantly, memories passed down through generations about battles that destroyed worlds and fleets that vanished under strange weapons. But this time, something was different. Most species reacted with fear. Some whispered in panic. Some began sending messages back to their fleets. Some tried to hide the trembling in their voices. The Dominion expected this reaction. They always enjoyed watching others panic. But one group in the hall reacted in a way that threw every observer off balance. The humans did not flinch. They did not panic. They did not start shouting or running reports to their commanders. They simply exchanged glances. Some rested their hands casually behind their backs. One of them even let out a small breath that sounded suspiciously like a laugh. And then another smiled slowly, like someone who had just heard a joke that everyone else was too confused to understand. Aliens nearby blinked in confusion. This was not the correct reaction. When the Dominion declared war on a species, that species was supposed to freeze in fear. But the humans, they looked almost relaxed. A tall reptilian delegate stepped closer to them. Did you not hear the message? It hissed quietly. The Dominion declared war. On you first. A human representative nodded politely. Yes, we heard. Then why are you calm? The human shrugged lightly. We'll manage. That simple sentence traveled across the hall like a shockwave. Species who knew humans, suddenly realized that something deeper was going on. Humans were not known for arrogance. They did not walk around bragging about strength. Their confidence usually came only after careful preparation or understanding. So why were they so calm now? The Dominion noticed the odd reaction as well. Their envoy narrowed his bright eyes and studied the humans with annoyance, almost insulted by their lack of fear. The envoy slammed the staff down again. You are not taking this seriously. A human representative stepped forward, keeping a controlled expression. We take everything seriously, but you expect us to react with fear. We don't do that anymore. The envoy's lips curled. You believe you can stand against us? The human gave a small smile. We know we can stand. That only angered the Dominion more. Their envoys turned sharply and left the hall, leaving cold darkness behind them. But their final words lingered in the air, like a threat carved into stone. Then your world will be the first to fall. The moment they disappeared through the doors, the hall exploded with noise. Delegates pushed toward the humans, asking questions all at once. Some begged them to reconsider any retaliation. Others wanted them to flee. Some simply wanted to know the reason behind their calm attitudes. A smaller alien, trembling with fear, approached them. If the Dominion declared war, why are you not afraid? The human inhaled slowly, choosing words carefully. Fear is natural, but panic solves nothing. And this isn't surprising to us. What do you mean? The alien asked. We expected this, the human said softly. For a long time. That answer only deepened the confusion, because no one else had expected this. Every species believed the armistice would last forever. It was one of the few agreements that no one wanted to break. The last war had been too destructive, too painful, too heavy with loss for anyone to start it again. But the humans, they sounded almost prepared. While the hall continued buzzing with whispers, one human looked out a window toward the stars. His expression carried an understanding no one else had. For years, humans had watched the Dominion slowly gather power behind the scenes. They saw the quiet movement of fleets, the strange energy readings coming from forbidden regions, the old patterns returning. The Dominion wanted war for a long time, and humans knew it, but there was something more than that. Something the humans did not yet reveal. Something that made them more confident than ever before. They had been preparing while the rest of the galaxy was comfortable, believing peace would last forever. They had trained, built, researched, and quietly expanded. They did not waste the 3,000 years, yet none of that was visible on their faces. Their expressions remained calm, steady, almost amused. That was what frightened the other species the most. Not fear, not anger, but that strange human chuckle. A gentle laugh in the face of a threat that could destroy worlds. As the hall slowly emptied, one alien observer remained behind, still trying to process everything. He watched the humans gather their belongings, speaking to each other calmly, with no panic in their voices. They walked like people who had already accepted whatever was coming. The observer approached one last time. Please, he said, voice tight with worry. Tell me something. Why did you? Chuckle? The human paused. For a moment, it looked like the answer might be avoided. But then, in a quiet tone, the human replied, because the Dominion thinks we're the same species we were 3,000 years ago. And you're not? The observer whispered. The human looked him in the eyes, steady and unshaken. Not even close. That sentence stayed with the observer long after the humans left the hall. It spread across the galaxy, whispered between diplomats and analysts who tried to understand it. What did humanity mean? What had they changed? What had they prepared during the long silent centuries? The galaxy had always believed humans were strong, but not the strongest. Brave, but not the bravest. Innovative, but not unstoppable. But now they weren't sure, because when the Dominion announced war, the galaxy trembled. Only humans chuckled, and that single reaction told everyone. One thing, something powerful was hiding behind that calm confidence. Something the Dominion might not be ready for. Something the rest of the galaxy had ignored for too long. The armistice was over. The threat was real. But humanity, for reasons no one yet understood, seemed ready, somewhere far beyond the hall, hidden deep inside secure channels. A message was quietly sent to Earth. It carried only a few words, but those words were enough to set everything into motion. The Dominion has moved first. And on Earth, far from the eyes of the Galactic Forum, a single light blinked on inside a vast underground chamber. Machines hummed to life. Silent fleets stirred in distant regions of space. Old protocols long forgotten by others were activated one after another. Humanity did not panic. They prepared. And for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy began to wonder, what had humans been planning all this time? Because there was something unsettlingly calm about a species that could look at a declaration of war from the most feared empire in the galaxy and laugh. After the shock of the announcement faded, the galaxy waited. Every species scrambled to understand what had just happened. Fleets were activated, defenses put on high alert, and messages sent across thousands of star systems. The Zeroth Dominion had declared war, and the galaxy expected chaos. But the humans did not panic. They moved in quiet confidence, as if they had been waiting for this moment for centuries. On Earth, in cities bustling with life and ordinary routines, very little seemed to change at first. People went about their daily tasks. Children played in parks, workers walked the streets, and traffic moved normally. To anyone outside, it looked like life was completely unaware of the cosmic storm brewing in the stars. But beneath the surface, humans were preparing. Quietly, efficiently, and without fear, military facilities buzzed with activity, not in panic, but with precise coordination. Ships that had been hidden in secret space stations were readied. Commanders reviewed battle plans that no other species could imagine. Scientists monitored alien signals, calculated strategies, and tested new technologies that had been kept secret for decades. Everything was ready because humans had never forgotten that the Dominion might return one day. In the Galactic Forum, confusion grew. Delegates from multiple species were still trying to understand the human reaction. Why weren't they running to their fleets? Why weren't they begging for help or pleading for negotiations? Every attempt to provoke fear or submission failed. Humans simply maintained their calm, observing the reactions around them with quiet interest. Their expressions did not change, and their tone remained neutral. There was no anger, no fear, no desperation. Only quiet focus and a hint of amusement that no one could read. The Dominion sent a second envoy to test them. This time, the threat was more specific. We will destroy your homeworlds. We will break your fleets. You will be crushed before the galaxy, the envoy said. His voice cold and sharp. The human representative looked at him, unflinching. We will defend ourselves. That is all, they said simply. The envoy's eyes narrowed. You are arrogant, weak species. You cannot survive what is coming. The human tilted their head slightly. Perhaps, but we will not cower. We do not fear what we do not yet see. That answer left the envoy frustrated. He left again, slamming the doors behind him. But this time, he carried a subtle fear. He realized that these humans were not ordinary. They had something the galaxy had underestimated: patience, preparation, and a deep understanding of their own strength. Meanwhile, humans across their colonies and homeworlds were quietly observing alien movements. They watched fleets, listened to communications, and noted every shift in the Dominion's plans. It was a patient game of observation and preparation. Nothing was rushed, and nothing was done recklessly. Every action had a purpose. Every decision was calculated. Other species could not understand this mindset. They were used to instant reactions, loud displays of power, or aggressive maneuvers when threatened. Humans, however, operated differently. They did not show fear, but they did not show aggression either. They seemed to understand that a confident mind could be more powerful than the largest fleet or the strongest weapon. News of the human calm spread quickly. Messages reached leaders in distant systems, and analysts struggled to explain it. They should be panicking. One alien diplomat said, shaking their head. They should be scared. They are not human panic, another replied. They are thinking ahead. They are ready. They are prepared for what we cannot even imagine. This idea began to worry even allies of the humans. Allies had assumed humans were just another species in the galaxy. But the more they observed, the more they realized humans were different. They were not merely prepared. They were advanced beyond expectations, silently accumulating knowledge and technology, while others slept in comfort. On Earth, ORDINAR, why people began noticing small changes too. Transportation systems moved with strange efficiency. Cities were cleaner and more organized than usual, not because of regulations, but because humans were working together quietly, anticipating challenges. Factories ran with smooth precision, and resources were carefully allocated. In schools, young people learned about science, space navigation, and strategy in ways that seemed ordinary but had hidden purpose. Every generation had been quietly preparing, though most of them did not yet understand it fully themselves. As the Dominion mobilized fleets across the galaxy, humans watched, calculated, and laughed quietly. Their laughter was not cruel, but it was a recognition of something. The Dominion believed it was about to strike first, to gain the advantage, to destroy the humans before they could respond. But the humans had already thought about this. They had considered every possible move. And they knew that the Dominion underestimated them. In secret command centers, humans studied alien battle formations and signals. They ran simulations that predicted outcomes with astonishing accuracy. Each calculation was checked and rechecked. They worked with old machines that were centuries ahead of anything the Dominion had seen. Every ship, every weapon, every crew member was ready to act in perfect synchronization. Even their diplomacy was different. While other species sent urgent messages of negotiation or threats of retaliation, humans sent calm, deliberate statements. They did not boast. They did not plead. They simply confirmed their readiness. Their tone was neutral, almost casual. This calmness confused the galaxy, but it also commanded respect. One human officer, speaking to a group of younger crew members, said, "The Dominion believes fear controls the galaxy, but it does not control us. We do not fight because we want war. We fight because we must and because we are ready." The young crew members listened intently. They understood that their role was not just to defend, but to represent something bigger. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries, and now they had the opportunity to show the galaxy what they had become. Meanwhile, some species began to panic in secret. They saw the humans moving with quiet efficiency and realized their own weakness. Fleets that had been counted on to respond to attacks were slow, disorganized, or unprepared. They began sending urgent messages to humans, asking for help, guidance, or protection. Humans replied politely, never refusing, but also never showing urgency. Their calmness only reinforced the growing impression that humans were something beyond ordinary. As weeks passed, small skirmishes in distant systems began. Minor attacks were launched, but humans responded with precise force. No one could explain how humans seemed to predict movements, counter attacks, and protect innocent worlds with minimal losses. Alien commanders grew frustrated and confused. Every time they thought they had an advantage, humans adjusted instantly, as if they had already known the move was coming. Through all of this, humans maintained a quiet, human-centric focus. They cared about life, about civilians, about allies. But they also understood strategy, strength, and timing. Their calmness was not arrogance, it was understanding. They did not need to show force to be powerful. Their strength came from preparation, coordination, and patience. In private, human leaders reviewed reports from multiple systems. They smiled quietly at predictions of panic from other species. "They still don't understand," one said. "They still think we will react like everyone else. But we have been ready for this for generations." Even ordinary humans felt the change. There was a quiet confidence among communities, a sense of purpose that seemed to ripple through daily life. People worked together without needing orders, helped each other without recognition, and prepared in small ways that would matter in larger conflicts. Humans everywhere were beginning to feel what their leaders already knew. This was a challenge they could meet, and they would meet it together. As the Dominion's fleets moved closer, their own commanders began to hesitate. They had expected fear and chaos, but instead they found humans calm, prepared, and intelligent in ways they could not anticipate. Doubt spread among their ranks. They had underestimated the species they had thought would crumble first out, and for the humans, every moment of observation was an opportunity. They learned, they adjusted, they waited for the right moment to act. They did not rush. They did not overreach. They simply prepared, quietly and efficiently, knowing that when the time came, they would be ready. And all the while, the humans chuckled quietly. Not at cruelty, not at others' fear, but at the absurdity of the Dominion believing that fear could control them. The galaxy watched in wonder, confusion, and fear. Humans were not panicked. Humans were not rushing. Humans were quietly, calmly, and confidently preparing to show the universe what they had become. For the first time in generations, the galaxy began to see humans in a new light. Not just as survivors or workers, not just as curious explorers, but as a species that could think, act, and plan in ways that no one else could predict. And in that quiet confidence, in that patient preparation, the humans held the galaxy's attention more than any fleet, weapon, or threat could, because the humans did not just react. They planned, they observed, and they waited. And in the waiting, they held a power that no one had yet imagined. The Armistice may have ended. The Dominion may have declared war. But the humans were ready. They were calm. They were confident. And as far as the galaxy could see, nothing, not fear, not threat, not uncertainty, woods. As the Dominion's fleets continued to move closer, humans began to reveal parts of their secret preparation. Not in a way that screamed power or dominance, but quietly, in ways that others could barely notice at first. To most species, humanity still seemed ordinary, even simple. People went about daily life on Earth and other human colonies, while behind the scenes, entire fleets were moving into position, and long-hidden technologies were being activated. The first real hint of human readiness came when scouts reported strange signals in space. The Dominion believed they had hidden ships in secret regions, and they expected confusion and delay from humans. Instead, reports came back almost immediately, detailed and precise. Humans had already studied the Dominion's movements for decades. They had observed patterns, predicted likely attack routes, and prepared countermeasures in silence. Every alien move was catalogued, and humans already had a response waiting. Across human command centers, officers and analysts worked calmly. No one shouted. No one panicked. Every calculation, every order, was given with careful thought. Humans had learned the hard way that panic destroyed coordination, and they refused to let fear cloud their judgment. While other species rushed to react, humans moved with quiet precision, like a well-oiled machine, but with flexibility and creativity that no machine could match. Back in the Galactic Forum, alien delegates continued to watch humans in disbelief. "They seem normal," whispered one diplomat. "They are just sitting there while the Dominion prepares to attack. Do they not understand what is coming?" "They understand more than we do," another replied. "They have patience and knowledge that even we cannot see. I fear we are about to witness something extraordinary." It was true. Humans had not spent the last 3,000 years idle. While other species were content to enjoy the peace, humans had quietly expanded their understanding of space, technology, and strategy. They had built ships that were faster, smarter, and more resilient than anything the Dominion could imagine. They had trained fleets of pilots in ways that combined instinct, strategy, and creativity. They had learned not just to fight, but to anticipate. Even humans themselves were surprised by their own capabilities. Generations had grown up hearing stories of past wars, of the horrors and victories of ancient conflicts, and of the threats posed by the Dominion. These stories had inspired preparation and determination, shaping a mindset that combined caution with courage, patience with action. Young humans learned early that survival and success depended not on fear or brute strength, but on understanding, creativity, and teamwork. As fleets began their first movements near human colonies, scouts and observers reported back on alien positions. Humans studied each report carefully. They did not react immediately, because immediate reaction would reveal their full hand too soon. Instead, they adjusted quietly, repositioning ships, altering defenses, and preparing for scenarios that the Dominion had not considered. Every human command center acted like a central brain, processing information, predicting outcomes, and coordinating actions with near-perfect timing. This calm and careful preparation only made the Dominion more frustrated. They expected humans to panic, to scatter, to make mistakes under pressure. Instead, humans seemed almost amused. The Dominion could not understand why a species facing possible annihilation would remain so steady, so quiet, and so confident. And the more humans demonstrated control, the more the Dominion hesitated. Doubt spread among their officers. Could it be possible that the humans were prepared for more than the Dominion had imagined? Meanwhile, ordinary humans went about life as usual. People continued to work, to teach, to care for their families, and to live. It was a subtle demonstration of resilience, of focus, of confidence. Even in the face of a threat that could have sent any other species into chaos, humans maintained normal life. This human-centric approach sent a message across the galaxy. Humans did not need to show fear, but they did not underestimate the danger either. They were ready in ways that went beyond weapons and fleets. They were ready because their mind, their spirit, and their planning were stronger than any immediate fear. In secret laboratories, scientists tested technologies that had remained hidden for centuries. They activated defense systems that could adapt to multiple threats simultaneously. They monitored alien signals and developed countermeasures that made the Dominion's movements almost predictable. Every system, every calculation, every human involved knew their role, and they executed it without hesitation. At the same time, humans worked to protect allies and neutral species. They did not act aggressively. They acted strategically, positioning their forces not only to defend themselves, but to ensure that others were not caught in the first waves of conflict. This combination of caution, preparation, and care surprised many species. Humans were not reckless. Humans were not cruel. Humans were precise, efficient, and thoughtful. One of the most remarkable aspects of human preparation was the way ordinary civilians contributed. People on Earth and across colonies understood that the threat of war required more than ships and weapons. They organized themselves to maintain society, support defense efforts, and care for those in need. Resources were managed carefully. Communication networks were maintained. Every person had a role, and everyone participated, quietly and without seeking attention. Even the Dominion noticed this strange behavior. They had expected panic. They had expected confusion. Instead, they saw a species that seemed almost to thrive under pressure, a species whose calm confidence was as unsettling as any weapon. The Dominion could not predict what the humans would do next, because the humans did not act in fear, and they did not act in haste. They acted with understanding, foresight, and patience. When minor skirmishes began at the edge of human-controlled space, humans responded with precision. Alien fleets that tried to take advantage of perceived hesitation were met with coordinated maneuvers that seemed almost instinctive. Ships appeared where they were needed, defense systems activated at exactly the right moment, and humans coordinated attacks that neutralized threats without unnecessary destruction. Every action had purpose. Every decision was calculated. Observers from other species began to whisper about human strategy in ways that had never been done before. They are not just defending, one said. They are controlling the battle before it begins. They are always one step ahead. The more the Dominion tried to force the conflict, the more humans demonstrated preparation. Every attack was met with measured response. Every movement was countered with precision. The humans' calmness became a form of power, a way to control the situation without appearing aggressive. Even as humans acted, they continued to teach and guide the younger generation. Young pilots and officers learned not just tactics, but observation, patience, and creative thinking. They were trained to anticipate moves before they happened, to think like both a strategist and a protector. This education ensured that human strength would continue beyond the immediate conflict. Growing with every new generation. In the Galactic Forum, reports of human efficiency and calm began to circulate. Diplomats and analysts from all over the galaxy were puzzled. How could a species remain so steady while facing a threat that had toppled countless others? How could they combine normal daily life with such strategic preparation? Some began to realize the answer was simple. Humans were not ordinary. They had learned from history, studied their enemies, and prepared in ways that other species had never imagined. They did not rely on fear or intimidation. They relied on understanding, skill, and teamwork. They did not need to show off power. They needed only to act when the time was right. And the humans themselves understood this better than anyone. They did not act out of anger. They did not act out of fear. They acted because it was necessary, because it was their duty, and because they were ready. Every fleet, every ship, every person knew their role, and they performed it with quiet confidence. Even as the Dominion sent more messages and attempted to provoke fear, humans continued their calm observation. They planned. They adjusted. They prepared. And as each day passed, their readiness grew. While the Dominion's frustration and doubt grew alongside it, the galaxy was watching humans differently now. No longer just as survivors, explorers, or simple allies. They were a species that could think, plan, and act in ways that few others could predict. Their patience, coordination, and confidence made them more formidable than any weapon. And throughout it all, humans remained human. They cared for each other, for allies, and even for neutral species. They were strong, but their strength was combined with empathy, understanding, and patience. They were ready for war, but they were also ready to protect life. That balance made them unpredictable, and that unpredictability gave them power beyond any fleet or weapon. Somewhere deep in space, hidden fleets adjusted positions. Defense systems hummed quietly. Human officers reviewed data, made careful calculations, and communicated with precision. And everywhere, humans maintained a quiet confidence that unnerved the Dominion and inspired awe across the galaxy. They were ready. Not out of fear, not out of anger, not out of arrogance, but because they had prepared. And because they understood that patience, observation, and careful planning could be mo. The first clash between humans and the Dominion's forces did not arrive with a warning. No alarms, no dramatic signals. One moment, distant systems were quiet and orderly. The next, the first Dominion ships appeared, cutting through the darkness of space like shadows. They expected hesitation, confusion, and fear. They expected humans to scramble, to react in panic, to make mistakes. They expected easy victories. They were wrong. From the moment the Dominion ships entered human-controlled space, the humans responded with calm precision. Ships already in position moved with speed and accuracy that seemed almost impossible. Every maneuver was calculated, every strike coordinated. Dominion officers watched through their sensors in disbelief. Their expectations of chaos and panic had been completely shattered. Humans had anticipated their approach. They had studied the Dominion's tactics, their strengths, and their weaknesses. They had simulated countless scenarios, predicting every possible move. And now, in real time, they executed their plans flawlessly. The first wave of Dominion attacks was met with resistance, so precise that it seemed almost choreographed. Human ships appeared where needed, blocked critical points, and neutralized threats without unnecessary destruction. The Dominion's weapons, designed to overwhelm, found human defenses already in place. Every attempt to exploit a weakness was met with a counter that seemed to anticipate the move before it happened. In the command centers, humans monitored the battle calmly. Analysts fed real-time information to officers, who then issued carefully measured orders. Pilots executed maneuvers with near-perfect timing. Engineers adjusted power systems, shields, and weapons in synchronization. It was not chaos. It was a symphony of efficiency and skill. For the Dominion, the experience was bewildering. Every expectation they had about human panic, disorganization, or unpredictability was wrong. Humans did not panic. They did not run. They did not hesitate. Every action was measured, deliberate, and effective. Dominion commanders could not understand it, and doubt began to creep into their ranks. Meanwhile, humans were not just defending. They were observing, learning, and adjusting. Every move the Dominion made was analyzed, cataloged, and incorporated into human strategies in real time. Humans had prepared for this for centuries, and now their preparation was proving to be far more effective than anyone had imagined. At the edge of the battle, human pilots communicated quietly, not with panic, not with fear, but with precision. Shields at maximum. Align with the next fleet. Prepare countermeasures, one reported. Another responded calmly. Copy. Adjust trajectory. Maintain formation. Wait for the signal. The Dominion was caught off guard again and again. They had expected a chaotic response, but humans acted with coordination, understanding, and patience. Every ship, every pilot, every officer played their role perfectly. Even the civilians across human worlds were aware of what was happening, not in fear, but in focus. Communications networks kept communities informed, and people followed instructions calmly, assisting where needed. Evacuation plans were executed smoothly. Resources were distributed efficiently. Hospitals, transportation systems, and supply chains continued to operate, supporting both civilian needs and defense efforts. Humanity's strength was not only in its fleets, but in its ability to maintain society under pressure. The Dominion could not ignore this. Their officers whispered in disbelief, comparing notes and recalculating predictions. They are too coordinated. Their ships move as if they were one. Their responses are faster than we can predict. How is this possible? Humans, however, understood the answer perfectly. It was simple. They had trained, prepared, and planned. They had observed, learned, and waited patiently. They had anticipated the Dominion's moves for years, and now, in real time, they executed every plan flawlessly. Their calmness was not arrogance. It was mastery. As the first battles unfolded, humans demonstrated another unexpected skill: adaptability. When Dominion ships attempted maneuvers that had not been predicted, humans adjusted instantly. Communications relayed changes in strategy to all units. Ships shifted positions, shields recalibrated, weapons redirected. Every adaptation was seamless. Humans did not falter. They learned from the Dominion's actions in real time, turning surprises into advantages. Even alien observers, who were not part of the Dominion, watched with awe and fear. They are more than we imagined, one diplomat whispered. They are not just defending. They are controlling the battle itself. For humans, this was just the beginning. The initial clash proved a critical point. The Dominion had underestimated them, and the humans' patience and preparation had turned that underestimation into strength. Every action reinforced a simple truth. Humans were not to be feared for raw aggression alone, but for intelligence, strategy, and foresight. Across the battlefields, human pilots and crews acted with quiet focus. There were no unnecessary losses, no chaotic mistakes. Even when Dominion weapons fired, humans anticipated them, adjusting shields, evading attacks, and countering with precision. Every maneuver demonstrated a combination of skill, discipline, and understanding. Back on Earth and human colonies, civilians continued to support the war effort calmly. Hospitals were prepared, supplies were organized, and communications networks operated flawlessly. Humans understood that victory was not just about winning battles, but sustaining life, maintaining morale, and protecting their people. Their focus was as much on survival and care as it was on strategy. Meanwhile, Dominion commanders struggled to regain control. Their ships were being repelled systematically. Every attempt to gain the upper hand was met with countermeasures that seemed to anticipate every move. Dominion officers had trained for this war their entire lives, but they were unprepared for humans who combined patience, intelligence, and courage in ways that no training could predict. The human response was more than defense. It was teaching. It was showing the galaxy that a species could act calmly, intelligently, and decisively under pressure. Humans did not need to shout or display power. They needed only to act, and the effectiveness of their actions spoke for itself. As the first battles continued, humans began small but precise counterattacks. Dominion ships that attempted to flank or outmaneuver human forces found themselves blocked, isolated, and neutralized. Humans struck where necessary, but without unnecessary violence. Every attack was measured, every move deliberate. This precision further confused and frustrated the Dominion in the command centers. Officers watched maps and simulations in real time. They discussed movements quietly, issuing orders in calm, clear voices. Pilots listened and executed without hesitation. Engineers adjusted systems seamlessly. The entire human effort moved as a single coordinated entity. Alien diplomats and analysts continued to observe in shock. They are beyond anything we have seen. Their coordination, their strategy, their calm. It is unlike anything in the galaxy. The human leaders, however, remained focused. They knew this was only the beginning. The initial clash had been a test, a way to see how the Dominion would act. Now humans had evidence of their opponent's tactics and weaknesses. They would adapt further, strengthen defenses, and prepare for the next phase. Every move, every calculation, every strategy would be refined, not in panic, but in control. Even as the Dominion scrambled to respond, humans maintained their human-centric focus. They protected civilians, minimized destruction, and coordinated their forces efficiently. They understood that war was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about survival, protection, and strategy. This understanding made them unpredictable and powerful. At the same time, by the time the first major skirmish ended, the Dominion was forced to retreat. Their losses were greater than expected. Their confidence had been shaken. Their assumption that humans would panic had been proven false. And as the Dominion withdrew, humans did not celebrate loudly. They observed, learned, and prepared for what was next. Their calmness was a sign of control, a signal that they were ready for any challenge. Every species watching the battle began to change their perspective. Humans were no longer just survivors or ordinary inhabitants of the galaxy. They were a species that could think, plan, and act with intelligence, precision, and patience. Their calm response to a threat of total war had shown the galaxy something few had expected. Humans were ready, and their preparation made them stronger than anyone had imagined. Even the Dominion's own officers had begun to doubt their strategy. "They are not like any species we have faced," one said. "They do not panic. They do not falter. They anticipate and adapt. How do we fight against a species like that?" The answer, of course, was simple. Humans had already done the work. They had studied, prepared, and waited. They had built fleets, trained crews, and developed technologies far beyond the Dominion's expectations. And now, when the first clash came, they executed flawlessly. And through it all, humans remained human. They cared for their people, for allies, and for the innocent. They acted not out of arrogance, not out of fear, and not out of hatred, but out of understanding, skill, and necessity. That combination made them unpredictable, powerful, and respected. The first clash ended not with chaos, but with clarity. Humans had proven themselves. The Dominion had underestimated them, and the galaxy had begun to see humans in a new light. After the first clash, the galaxy began to see humans differently. The Dominion had expected fear, panic, and disorder. They had hoped to take advantage of what they thought was human weakness. Instead, they encountered precision, patience, and intelligence. The humans had not only defended their territory, but they had also shown a deeper understanding of strategy, timing, and adaptation. Every species watching realized that humanity was no longer just another player in the galaxy. It was a force that demanded attention and respect. Humans were calm, but that calm was not passive. It was deliberate, measured, and purposeful. Across their colonies and homeworlds, humans were observing, calculating, and preparing for what would come next. They were learning from every Dominion movement, every signal, every maneuver, and adjusting their strategies quietly and efficiently. While other species reacted with fear, humans moved with intention. Every action had a reason. Every decision was planned, not rushed. Civilians, officers, scientists, and pilots all played their part. Communities organized themselves, continuing daily life even under the shadow of war. Hospitals were ready, transportation systems ran efficiently, and resources were carefully allocated. Schools continued to educate children in both traditional subjects and practical skills needed for survival in a galaxy at war. Even the youngest humans understood that every small effort contributed to the larger picture. Every person had a role, and every role mattered. In space, human fleets continued to operate with astonishing coordination. Ships moved like parts of a single organism, each responding to threats, countering attacks, and protecting vital points without confusion. When Dominion forces attempted a new tactic, human commanders quickly adapted, redirecting fleets and deploying resources where they were most needed. Each move was precise, yet flexible, showing a combination of discipline and creativity that the Dominion could not predict. Observing humans became a challenge for the Dominion. Their analysts could not understand how humans could act so calmly under pressure. "They are not afraid," one officer admitted. "They are not panicking. How can that be?" Another replied, "It is as if they have already seen the future and are simply acting within it. Nothing surprises them." Humans, however, were not acting out of arrogance. They understood the gravity of the situation. War was dangerous, and the Dominion was powerful. But humans had prepared, quietly and intelligently, for decades. They had studied the Dominion's strategies, weaknesses, and behavior patterns. They had trained, simulated, and anticipated countless scenarios. And now, when the conflict unfolded, they executed their plans with precision. While fleets clashed in space, humans also focused on alliances. They reached out to neutral species and potential allies, not with threats or intimidation, but with clarity and calm negotiation. They shared information, coordinated defenses, and offered protection when it was needed. This approach not only strengthened their position, but also reinforced the human-centric focus. Humans acted to protect life, maintain order, and ensure fairness whenever possible. One Dominion attack aimed at a small human colony was expected to succeed. The Dominion believed the humans would be overwhelmed by the sudden assault. Yet, human defenders moved as if they had anticipated the attack all along. Shields were redirected, defense turrets activated, and counterattacks launched with perfect timing. The Dominion fleet suffered unexpected losses, and their officers could hardly believe it. Every maneuver, every decision, seemed perfectly timed and executed. Humans did not celebrate. They did not shout. They observed and adapted. They learned from every engagement and adjusted for future encounters. Their calm demeanor was not arrogance. It was a reflection of preparation and understanding. Every human understood that victory in this war depended not on recklessness or brute force, but on intelligence, coordination, and foresight. Meanwhile, civilians continued to support the war effort in practical ways. They maintained infrastructure, distributed resources, and cared for those affected by minor skirmishes. Communities worked together without chaos, demonstrating a social strength that matched the military coordination. Humans did not rely solely on weapons to survive. They relied on understanding, adaptability, and unity. In distant observation posts, alien diplomats continued to report their disbelief. They are not just defending, one whispered. They are controlling the pace of the conflict. Every move they make shapes the battlefield before it even happens. Another added, it is as if they are not reacting to us. They are guiding us, showing us that we are being predictable, and they are one step ahead. This calm, strategic approach allowed humans to gain an advantage without appearing aggressive. The Dominion had hoped to provoke fear, to create mistakes through panic. But humans did not respond in fear. They responded with observation, patience, and action, only when necessary. Even small fleets and individual pilots acted as part of a larger plan, contributing to a coordinated effort that the Dominion could not disrupt. In human command centers, leaders reviewed reports and adjusted strategies continuously. They did not rush decisions, but neither did they hesitate. Every choice was made with knowledge and purpose. Pilots and crews executed orders flawlessly. Engineers optimized systems in real time, and analysts interpreted enemy movements with accuracy. It was a demonstration of patience, skill, and human intelligence in a way that no other species had ever seen. Humans also demonstrated empathy alongside strategy. While the Dominion sought destruction, humans worked to minimize casualties whenever possible. Colonies were evacuated carefully, civilians were protected, and neutral planets were shielded from unnecessary conflict. This human approach to war efficient, strategic, yet caring confused the Dominion even further. They expected chaos and cruelty, but found humanity acting with balance and purpose. The results of these efforts were clear. Dominion forces struggled to make progress. Their ships suffered losses, their plans were countered, and their confidence began to waver. The galaxy watched as humans continued to operate calmly and effectively, demonstrating a strength that was both unexpected and impossible to ignore. Even as humans defended their space and lives, they also began small counterattacks designed to weaken the Dominion without overextending themselves. These attacks were precise, targeting critical points in the Dominion's fleets while avoiding unnecessary risks. The Dominion could not predict these moves because humans did not rely on aggression. They relied on strategy and intelligence. Every maneuver was calculated. Every strike had purpose. As the Dominion began to reconsider their strategy, humans used the opportunity to expand their influence subtly. They strengthened alliances, coordinated defenses across multiple systems, and ensured that neutral species could remain safe. Every action reinforced the perception that humans were not just surviving, they were shaping the battlefield in a way that no one else could. Even as minor battles continued, humans remained focused on the bigger picture. They understood that this conflict was about more than just winning individual fights. It was about demonstrating capability, intelligence, and unity. Every citizen, pilot, officer, and leader understood their role, contributing to a collective effort that balanced strategy, empathy, and preparation. The Dominion, frustrated and confused, could not adjust fast enough. Their predictions were consistently wrong. Their assumptions about human fear and panic were invalid. They realized that underestimating humans had been a critical mistake, one that could cost them dearly if they did not adapt quickly. For the humans, this understanding reinforced their confidence. They had prepared for this moment for centuries. They had trained, studied, and anticipated the Dominion's moves. Their patience and intelligence were paying off, and their calm, human-centric approach continued to surprise and unsettle their enemies. As weeks passed, the Dominion began to see the pattern. Humans were not just defending, they were learning, adapting, and shaping the conflict. They were not aggressive without reason. They were not reckless. They acted with purpose, strategy, and careful consideration. Every engagement reinforced the message. Humans were ready, and they would not be underestimated. Across human worlds, life continued with quiet efficiency. Civilians, aware of the ongoing conflict, contributed in small but meaningful ways. They organized resources, maintained communications, and supported defense efforts calmly and effectively. This societal strength complemented the military effort, demonstrating that humanity's power was not only in weapons or fleets, but in unity, intelligence, and resilience. By the time the Dominion attempted another major strike, they were met with a force that was coordinated, prepared, and strategic beyond anything they had faced. Human ships moved in perfect synchronization, shields and weapons adjusted instantly, and crews executed orders with flawless precision. The Dominion's advance was halted, and they were forced to retreat once again, their confidence shaken further. Observers from other species continued to report on the human response. "They are more than we imagined," one diplomat said. "They are not just reacting, they are controlling, shaping, and anticipating. How do we even fight against a species like this?" Humans, however, remained focused on the task at hand. They did not boast. They did not celebrate. They acted calmly, intently.